So today, we're going to dig into a pretty unexpected source for leadership advice, an ancient song, Psalm 66. And it turns out this song is basically a playbook, an incredibly practical guide for leading through tough times. Let's dive in. I mean, think about it for a second. The absolute toughest challenges you or your team have ever faced, those moments of crazy pressure, the proverbial fire and water. When it feels like everything's on the line, what's your game plan? What's the thing that gets you through to the other side? It's a question every single leader has to answer at some point. Well, believe it or not, this ancient song gives us this powerful four-part blueprint. It's like a post-crisis leadership model that shows us exactly how to turn that collective pain into a shared win. And it all kicks off with where you decide to look first. So, step one in the playbook, it's not what you'd think. It's not about bracing for impact or digging in for the current fight. It's about looking backward. The foundation for getting through a new crisis is actually remembering how you survived the last one. And what's so cool here is how specific the memory is. The psalmist isn't just talking about vague, general good stuff. It points back to the single most defining moment for the entire nation, crossing the Red Sea. By saying he turned the sea into dry land, the writer anchors their present fear in a past, undeniable miracle. That shared story becomes the very fuel for their collective identity and strength. And this is just a brilliant leadership tactic. When your team is in the weeds, don't just fixate on the current problem. Remind them of their own Red Sea moments. Go back to the company's founding story. Talk about that insane deadline you all managed to hit, or that massive project everyone said was impossible. Recounting those past wins builds this incredible can-do attitude that's actually based on real history. Okay, so once you've grounded everyone in those past wins, the playbook moves to the hardest part, actually facing the pain of the current trial. But it does it with this radical reframing, this idea that the hardship isn't just random chaos. It actually has a purpose. And the metaphor at the heart of this is just so powerful. The psalm says, "You refined us like silver." This isn't about punishment, it's about purification. The idea is that the intense heat of a trial is meant to burn away the junk, the impurities, the inefficiencies, the bad habits, leaving behind something stronger, purer, and way more valuable. And the psalmist does not downplay the pain of this, not at all. It lays it out in these escalating steps. First, you feel trapped, like you're caught in a net. Then you're weighed down with burdens. Then comes oppression from forces you can't control. And finally, you go through the absolute extremes of fire and water. It's acknowledging the full, brutal spectrum of suffering. But, and this is so important, right after laying out the absolute worst of it, you get this massive pivot, a crucial but. All that pain, the net, the burdens, the fire, it was the path to somewhere better. The destination, the whole point of the journey, was always this place of abundance. The refining process had a goal. This right here is where a leader's job becomes absolutely essential. Your role is to frame the narrative. When a project blows up or the company takes a hit, you have to help your team see it not as a pointless failure, but as that refining process. This setback is a test, and it's designed to make us a stronger, more resilient team. Any leader who can do that builds an incredible amount of trust. Okay, now we get to this really fascinating twist in the psalm. After recounting the collective trial, the stuff that we all went through, the whole perspective suddenly gets super personal. I mean, you can't miss it. The first half is all we and us, our shared history, our shared suffering. And then bam, the speaker flips to I. The shared crisis creates the stage, but the response, that becomes personal. This is the moment a leader steps forward to really model the way out. So what does this leader do? Well, first, they show integrity. They actually fulfill the promises they made when things were tough. Then they express genuine gratitude. And maybe most importantly, they invite everyone to gather round and listen as they share their personal story. They turn the collective crisis into a powerful, individual testimony. All right, this brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, the foundation that holds this entire playbook together. What gives that leader the confidence, the guts, to stand up and tell their story like that? What's the secret sauce? It's this. Right here. This is the bedrock of the whole thing. The psalmist reveals that the precondition for being heard, for being rescued, is inner integrity. A clear conscience isn't just a nice-to-have quality, It's the absolute non-negotiable foundation for authentic leadership. See, the leader's confidence here doesn't come from being perfect. Nobody is. It comes from a real commitment to uprightness. Because his heart was in the right place, he could move past the trial and declare with total certainty that his cries for help were heard. That link between integrity and impact is the engine that drives this entire playbook. So there you have it, the whole model. You start by remembering past victories to build confidence. You reframe the current hardship as a purposeful, refining process. Then the leader steps up with personal integrity and a story of gratitude. And the whole thing is built on that rock-solid foundation of a clear conscience. That's the path from collective crisis to a shared blessing. And that leaves us with one final thought, a question really. Every trial you go through is a story in the making, and according to this ancient playbook, the best kind of leadership transforms that personal experience into a blessing for everyone. So the question is, how can your story of going through fire and water become the guide that helps someone else find their way to a place of abundance?